The Judge Rotenberg Center is a special needs day and residential school located in Canton, Massachusetts, which accepts ages 5 to adult. They use behavior modification to control their residents, such as applied behavior analysis. But in some cases, they also use extreme and torturous forms of punishment, such as prolonged restraint, food deprivation, and electric skin shock. The skin shock is not to be confused with ECT, which is done for very different reasons and also under anesthesia so that the person doesn't feel any pain. No, electric skin shock, also known as the graduated electronic decelerator, is meant to cause severe pain in order to punish undesired behaviors in actual children and adults. These behaviors can be as minor as standing up out of a chair without permission, or as was in my case, waving my hands in front of my face, tensing parts of my body, talking without permission, or even crying. For 7 years, all I wanted to do was escape this hell. I had been at JRC about 6 years at the time of my first escape attempt. I remember they had taken away my home visits, and home visits were like the only thing I was living for. Those 2-day visits were my chance to not be so afraid and to just get away from the anxiety that was JRC. At the beginning of the summer, they decided that I was going home too much and that I was running wild at home. Those were the actual words they used, running wild. Now mind you, when I would go home, all I would do was stay in the condo with my mom, and we'd go out on little trips to get ice cream and to the batting cages. So if that was running wild, guilty as charged, because that's all we did. They also said that I wasn't following the rules at home because they had set forth their own list of rules that I had to follow while I was at home. You see, JRC is very controlling, and they need to control you in everything you do. Even when I'm at home and not there, they had the need to control everything I do and to know everything I did when I was home. A couple of the rules were like I couldn't drink caffeine after 2 p.m. and I had to go to bed by 10 p.m. And my mom didn't really enforce those rules because I was a grown adult. Now you might ask, Jennifer, why didn't you just leave that place, or why didn't your mom sign you out of that place? And the answer is JRC had gotten an appointed guardian over me, which means that I was no longer in control of where I stayed, and my mom wasn't either. They had a court-ordered guardian who had signed me into JRC that had control over where I was staying and all my treatment there. So when they took away my home visits, I was devastated, and I lost all hope. They might be able to control my body and what I do, but they can't get my heart. That's the one thing I will protect from them, like that they couldn't break my heart or my inner spirit. So a couple months passed, and my psychologist came to see me, and I asked her if I could start at my home visits again. And she was pretty much like, no, it's gonna be more time. We'll talk about it another time. We don't think you're ready yet. My heart just dropped to the floor. My mouth went dry. I was just like, my one thing that I'd been holding on to and telling myself was gone. If you knew what it was, it's so hard to describe what it was like to be there, but it was just, you're in a constant state of extreme anxiety over you might get shocked at any moment for anything that you did or didn't do, because sometimes they would think you did something, you didn't even do it, and you would get shocked, or you were always losing privileges, and it was just a constant state of anxiety there. I was in a loud workshop every day bundling popsicle sticks for a penny a piece. It was just not a place, it's not a place for anybody to be. So my heart starts pounding, and I just want to react like I'm having so many emotions, and I can't cry because I'll get in trouble for crying. So I'm trying to hold it all in. And then one of the staff says, Jen, stand up to get weighed, because they used to weigh us like once a week. And I'm like, that's it. I need to get out of here. I just need to get out of here right now. And she told me to stand up. heart was pounding. My head's going back and forth saying, Jen, just do it, just run out of this place, run into the street. Either you'll escape or you'll get hit by a car, but either way, you'll be away from this place. And then my other mind was like, no, you're gonna get in so much trouble. If they catch you, they're gonna shock you to death. And so my mind's fighting this battle. The whole time I'm standing up, my heart is in my throat. So I'm getting up, I'm walking very slowly over to the scale. As soon as I got up to the front of the classroom, I took off. I knew I couldn't go out the door we usually go in because it's always got so many staff around it, I'd never get away. So what I did was I ran down the side hallway, ran down the back hallway, and I knew there was a fire exit door back there. As soon as you hit that door, the alarm was gonna go off. So I ran down, but when I got to the back hallway, I kind of walked because I didn't want people to notice me running and then they would tackle me down. So I like walked through the back hallway. As soon as I hit the door, bam, the alarm goes off and I'm running. And then I realized I have to run up this huge hill. And I'm running, I'm almost to the top of the hill. I'm going, I was in pretty good shape at the time because I used to run the treadmill all the time, but it was so hot and my asthma kicked in. And I got to the top of the hill and I was just losing breath and losing speed near the top. And there was some staff that were outside, and before I knew it, bam, I was tackled in the mulch. And I remember they had just replaced the mulch, so it had that really strong mulchy smell to it, and my face was just in it, and I was like, I am so dead. So a bunch more staff came and they grabbed onto me and got me up on my feet, and like this whole cluster, like the head of programming was out there, and this whole cluster of people walked me back inside, and not to my classroom, but they brought me to the crisis classroom that was in the other building, and I really knew I was just in for it. They brought me in the back room, and they're all looking at my sheet and deciding what they're gonna shock me for, and I can only imagine, I'm thinking, you know, they're just gonna get me for everything, like just find as many things as they can. Now, I don't know if you've seen any of my other videos, but these shocks really, really hurt. They're like these electrodes that you wear on your body, and you have a backpack with the wires and the batteries are in your backpack. So you have these wires coming out of your backpack, going up your shirt, down your pant legs, and they attach to these electrodes, which are about 6 inches long. And it really hurts. I mean, imagine, have you ever stuck your finger like in the socket by accident, or got too close, your finger too close to the plug, and like it hurts. But this is worse than that because it lasts 2 seconds, but it feels like 10-15 seconds because time stops when you get shocked by these things. The feeling is like this pulsing, pulling, yanking, burning sensation that you get in your arm or leg or whatever spot they've shocked you in. It doesn't go through your whole body, it will just stay on that one spot where they shock you, but it will tear into it, and your whole muscle will clench up like this and like raise up, and you have no control over your muscle for that period of time. It's just a terrible pain. I don't know how to describe it. They describe it as a bee sting, but some people will say it's like 100 bee stings. It's not just like a little bee sting. It's like a bunch of bee stings. Unless you've maybe been tasered or something, or really been electrocuted by something, I can't describe the feeling, except it's extremely upsetting feeling, if that makes any sense. It's like your heart starts pounding and you're sweating, and you know, it's a shock, so it's like a sudden jolt, and the pain is really bad. So I was not looking forward to getting these shocks, as no one ever was looking forward to getting shocks. They decided to shock me for running away, and I don't know what else they added to the list. So I got a few shocks, and then they put me into restraints, which you have to wear around your waist and your like ankles, kind of like shackles. That's the best I can describe it, like shackles at in prison, except they're like these brown wrist cuffs, and then they lock, and then it locks around your waist, and so it's basically shackles. So they put me in that and sat me in the back room, and that's where I was to stay for a while. they came and told me that I was not coming out of restraints, that I was gonna have to stay like that for until further notice, which ended up being about 2 months, that I had to stay in restraints in the back room of the crisis room. And that place was freezing. I had heard kids talk about it before, how cold it was back there, but the air conditioning just blared down, and they had these little cubicles set up where we would have to sit. And there was about 3 or 4 of these cubicles in the back room. This was for like the worst of the worst. If you were the worst at the time, or if you had done something bad, this is where they would put you. And there was no one back there. Like, it was just you and a staff that would stand behind your chair like this, and they would stand sideways because they act like you're the biggest criminal in the world and you're just gonna jump on them or do something crazy. So they would stand behind you all the time with your devices, which is the buttons that control the shocks, and you can like hear it all the time on their waist. I wasn't allowed to go back to the residence with everyone else. I had to go back at like 8 o'clock. I couldn't leave till really late, and then I would go back and just go to bed and then come back to school early in the morning, and that was it. I couldn't even really do counting popsicle sticks because I was in these restraints where my hands were shackled to my waist. So they brought me books and things, but really I just sat there and just sat there. It was horrible. I had to sit on this thing, was on my chair. They had another device they cooked up, and it was like if I stood up even a little bit, this alarm would go off, I guess in case I tried to run away again, which was stupid because they had a staff standing over me all the time. So I had to sit on this raised up platform on this little chair. There was like this much room for my back, so my back was just killing me all the time, and my butt was killing me from sitting on that chair and just never getting up to do anything. I wasn't allowed to go outside. I wasn't allowed to do anything. The only time I left that room was to go take my shower, which I had to take at school. I couldn't even take at the residence. People would just open the door randomly, and there was a camera in there. You had to try to hide yourself from the camera. So I was sitting in that back room for about 2 months, 2.5 months, the whole summer, and just kind of withering away. I couldn't eat. I was even more depressed than I'd ever been. I had like maybe talked to my mom about once a week, and I really wasn't allowed to tell her anything that was going on because they would end the call if I said anything negative or try to tell her about what they were doing to me. So I had to try to keep it happy and nice, which was really hard because I want to tell her what's going on. So I didn't manage to escape. I put myself in a whole lot of more trouble and a whole lot of more restrictions. But I was kind of proud of myself too, that I finally was like, screw this. I was just like, I'm out of here, you know, and I kind of expressed myself. Like, you know, you can threaten me all you want, but there's going to be a point where I'm going to break and where I'm going to do what I need to do to protect myself, or to do what I need to do for myself. So I was kind of proud of myself for at least making the attempt to get out of there, because I was going to go. If I had gotten I was either going to get hit by a car, which might kill me, and that would be an escape, or it might like seriously injure me where I couldn't go back to JRC. Or if I managed to get across that highway, I was gonna run and run and run, and nothing was gonna stop me. If I had to sleep in a park or whatever, I would do it. I was not going back there. That's how bad it was, that I would rather be living on the street than living there. There's no place for anybody. But that was my first escape attempt. A few months later, there was a second one, and I'll tell you about that in another video. All right, this is JenAdventuresTV. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you another day with another video. Okay.